What's up, guys? I'm Homerun Hits, and this is my podcast, Sync Hits. This is a pod about music. I would say we're more focused here about sync licensing for sure. So, for this very first episode, I brought this special guest, Nathan Foreman, better known as XCaliberZero. He's a producer, composer who has landed music on Fortnite, the NBA, a lot of stuff on Netflix too, and many more, honestly. But he's also a sync agent now, and let me tell you, he's the very first agent that signed me to the library. I'm forever grateful for that, honestly. And yeah, so we have him here today. He's gonna talk to us a little bit more about the sync game, metadata, a lot of stuff. Honestly, he gave us a lot of gems in this spot. So all right, man, stick around.
Man, we're gonna call it out. We already started this interview and this podcast, and we forgot to hit record. So we're wrapping it up. We're doing it again. We're gonna do this again. So, or like naturally, if it feels like we already had that conversation, that's what happened.
I'm so happy to have you here. Thanks for even doing this for me, because I known you for a little while, and honestly, I learned everything about sync licensing from you. Most of the stuff I learned, it was from you. When I started sync licensing, I was literally watching all your videos on YouTube, Instagram, stuff like that. After we got to know each other through your library, Super Selective. Now here we are having this convo. Just wanted to thank you for that, honestly. And I wanted to ask you actually, where and how did you start with sync licensing?
For sure. First of all, I appreciate that. I appreciate you even admitting that, that you started. That's how you got started to get familiar with me. I think it's crazy because I feel like the dynamic of our relationship is you're one of my go-to people for producing, especially with certain projects. So yeah, I just appreciate you even acknowledging that. But I got my start basically. I started beat selling at 16 or 17 years old. And at that time, there was a site that everybody was using that was doing really well for producers who were selling beats online called SoundClick. And on SoundClick, you wanted to be on those charts, the top of the charts, because if you're on the top of the charts, the more likely your tracks are being heard and the more sales you're making. So I would go through these charts and I would look at these people's websites. And on their websites, you would see different placements like VH1 or MTV or BET and stuff like that. And I've always wondered in the back of my mind, how are these people getting these placements? It seemed accessible to me. It seemed like it was actually in reach when I'm seeing people who are like me selling beats online being able to get these placements. Well, fast forward to college, I went to school at Full Sail University and I graduated in 2014. And from there, they have this career development program. And you can get these different opportunities with this career development program of different internships, maybe a studio or different companies hiring within your field. And one of them that popped up was making music for TV. And it was doing their administration work, doing a lot of the stuff on the back end. And it was for a company called Signature Tracks. And it was based here in LA. And I'm from Virginia. So I lived in Virginia at the time. I've always wanted to live in LA. I've always wanted to move to California. So I pulled the trigger and I ended up starting as an unpaid intern. I did that for about 7 months. At the same time, it was giving me an opportunity to be a composer, to compose for them. So I was able to learn the ins and outs from not just as a producer or composer side, but also as an admin. I got to see how the whole system works from top to bottom and be able to contribute to that and see why things work. And I think that was really important for me, is to be able to see why certain tracks work and how they're used and understanding the context of how that music's being used. And that's kind of what cultivated the start of my sync licensing journey.
When you think about it, now that you have Super Selective and you were working for another sync agency or library?
It was a library. It was a music library.
Library? All right. So did they give you basically the idea of starting your own library, or were they more they wanted to keep you for them? How did you start Super Selective, which is your own catalog right now?
Yeah, so I started Super Selective in 2023. I left Signature Tracks in 2020. I was basically making enough from royalties where I wanted to do my own thing. I had been working there for 7 years at that point, and I wanted to grow in a new space. So naturally, when I left Signature Tracks, I had just learned so much, not just as a producer, but also from just how the system works. And I realized that not a lot of musicians, especially independent musicians, were understanding this lane. I had worked with people who had #1 hits on Billboard within that the company's signature tracks. And even though they were doing like songs like AO or Loyal, they were still highly focused on sync licensing. So I learned why, and I came to understand why. So I knew that when I left signature tracks that a lot of people did not know about this, and I wanted to be the person who educated the community. And I feel like at that point it wasn't sexy or wasn't cool enough. So I wanted to show people like why this is cool enough and how you can get into it and why it's way more accessible than you would think. So I started to teach people. I started to teach people how to do this. I started to do live streams. I started to get feedback. Every Friday I would show up, give feedback on tracks and say why or why not this track would work for sync licensing and what you can do to fix that. Well, naturally from doing that, naturally from making Instagrams and TikToks and YouTube videos and educating people, I started to cultivate this community. So a lot of the times when I would do these feedback sessions, the community would be like, yo, you should start your own company. And I would always be like, maybe one day. And I would have it in the back of my mind, but never really take it seriously as a thought. Fast forward to around 2023, I was starting to post more people who came from my community that were starting to get placements. I have a goal to help 100 musicians reach their first sync licensing placement. And my goal through that was just educating the community, and whoever was learning from me counted as one of the people if they actually ended up getting a placement. Well, when I started to post that stuff, one of my old mentors, my old boss, reached out to me and was like, yo, you should really start something on your own. Like I see what you're doing and I see what you're building, and you should be able to like represent these people that you're helping out. So I was like, okay, well, I've always heard that I should do this. And that kind of gave me the confidence to be like, you know what, I should do this because I know what I'm doing. I learned a lot on the back end side of how to like create this system. And naturally from the community growing organically, it gave me the confidence to be like, I know that if I wanted to add these people to a roster, they'd be on board. I have a great relationship with them. I see them every Friday when they show up to my live streams. And that kind of cultivated naturally me creating Super Selective and to what it is now. And this was like November 2023, October 2023. And now this is where we're at.
Oh man, this is amazing, honestly. And this inspires me a lot, to be honest, because I'm in Montreal, Canada. And when I started Sync, I think I talked to you about this once, but I'm actually not sure. But when I started, one of my friends was making songs for NBA teams, NHL teams, trailers, a lot of stuff. He's from here too, and he told me about sync licensing, but he's working with a big composer from France. So he knows about sync licensing, but he didn't have like all the insights and all the infos that basically you teach me on YouTube and Instagram. He didn't have those, but it was like, yo, Homerun, you could kill it in that lane and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, let me see who's in Montreal could help me with that. And I couldn't find nothing, which is kind of crazy because this is a musical city. We have a lot of great talents here, but I feel like a lot of artists don't know about sync licensing here. So you saying that you build that community like that, I feel like I have to do something similar to what you did, but here for the city. And this inspires me a lot, to be honest. I wanted to ask you, if you had, let's say, a ton of money right now to invest in your sync journey as a producer or an artist, where would you put that money if you could only like invest in one area? So either gears, sync panels, sync events and conferences, stuff like that, or like maybe you would invest in marketing. I don't know, where would you invest?
And this is a great question, and I think that it depends on where you are with your career. Like if you're a beginner, obviously like creating music is like the most important thing, so having a good product is the most important thing. But also I feel like getting out there and getting your name seen and being in the mix. And if I had all the money in the world and I was confident in my sound, 100% I would invest it into networking. I would be flying to different events. I would be having like a target, a hit list of people I wanted to meet that knew I worked in the type of projects I wanted to work on that fit my sound. And I would go to any place that I could find that they're guest speaking at, or maybe volunteering at, or whatever it is. And I'm going to make sure my face is shown and I'm showing up to these events, shaking their hands, introducing myself, and just creating a dialogue and building that relationship over time. I'm not immediately asking them, I'm Nathan, I'm trying to get on this show. Like, no, that's not how I'm approaching it. I'm building a relationship, get to know them. If I find somebody online and I see that they went on the trip, maybe like let's say they went to Montreal, I'm gonna hit up Home Run. I'm be like, yo, I had this client potential client that I want to work with who's going to Montreal. Can you send me your top 5 favorite restaurants in the area that are local? And I'm gonna send that person that list. I'm gonna cultivate that relationship naturally, build that connection, and I'm gonna make sure I keep showing up to the places that they are if they're going to different places or going to different events, and just building connections, collaborating with different people from those areas that I'm meeting people, and just going to these events and meeting as many people as possible. Because the more you're seeing, the more someone can introduce you to someone that aligns with your vision, the faster you're going to reach your goals, and the faster you're going to reach those opportunities you're trying to go after. So that's where I invest my money.
Man, that's amazing. That's a crazy answer. And that brings me to another question actually. Do you do a lot of collabs?
Depends. I think it's a seasonal thing for me. Like, it depends on the season, but yeah, I do. When I'm in collab mode, I love collaborating. When I'm in collab mode, I feel like I do them more frequently. And I think that right now, I feel like I'm in collab mode. I just did one with my homie Lazy Eye. And I think that it just depends on the season, but yeah, I do love collaborating with artists, producers, anyone really, like guitarists, instrumentalists, anyone who really kind of inspires ideas. And yeah, I have an open link to as well on Disco that people can submit their collaborations, like loops or whatever. So yeah, I'm open to collaborating.
I wanted to ask you, when you go to, let's say, these events and stuff like that, let's say you're really introvert, how would you approach music supervisors or sync agents to have a convo with them?
I think as creatives, we all naturally feel introverted depending on the setting. Like with friends and family, for me personally, if I'm around friends and family, I'm acting goofy, I'm extroverted, I'm my natural self. But if I'm going to an event where I know no one, I'm more like reserved. And I think that building this catalog, building Super Selective, has forced me outside of my comfort zone, has forced me to have the confidence to go up to a person and shake their hand and be like, hi, I'm Nathan, and introduce myself and carry a conversation, knowing that I personally, that's not what I would do naturally. And I think that we all had the introverted phase, but we can become extroverted given the reps, given the repetition, if we put ourselves in those situations. So that's something that's really been big for me as far as a growth, a part of growth within building Super Selective. But if I'm introverted and I'm going to an event, first thing I'm doing, I'm going to research that person, whether they have a podcast, an article, an interview, and I'm going to use that as a talking point to have a conversation with that person. I feel like if I have something that I can bring up that I recognize from an article, to give you an example, there's a person that is on my radar right now that works on a show that I want to get on, and it's All American. And she had an interview probably like 8-9 months ago. Never met this person. I've been to places where this person has been, but I haven't run into her yet. But I do know that if I run into this person, I know that they have record players on each one of their floors. They live in a 3-story building, I guess, and they have a record player on each one of their floors. They go to parks sometimes, and they people watch, and they try to imagine what that person would be listening to in their headphones, like what type of music that person listens to. And that resonates with me, and that changed my whole perspective. Now going to parks, I do that. So that would be a super easy talking point if I wanted to introduce myself to that person, be like, hi, I just want to say that I listened to a podcast that you did 8 months ago. You shared that you people watch and you got that from your mother, and then you'd like to pretend that you are trying to figure out what playlist they're listening to. That has resonated with me. I cannot go to the park now without thinking of that. So I just wanted to thank you for that little gem right there. And that's how I would introduce myself, right? Because it would be natural. It would be an easy talking point. And then the conversation turns into them talking about themselves. If you're a person who's introverted and you go around a person who's extroverted, and they are able to just if you're able to ask a question and have them talk about yourself, the easier it is to carry that conversation. In my opinion, that's just a little cheat code. But I feel like just getting those reps in, and then also like if you're going to, like, let's say I go to Chipotle a lot. I don't know if you guys have Chipotle out there, but I go to Chipotle a lot. So
I don't think we
have it.
Not in
no,
much.
You don't? Well, let's say
not in much.
Any restaurant or whatever you go to, like, talk to the cashier, talk to the person making your food if you can see them, because Chipotle, you're in line and they're making your food in front of you. Like, talk to that person, just have a simple dialogue. Ask an interesting question, not like how was your day, but like, what was the most memorable laugh you had this week, or what was the most memorable piece of content that you watched this week? You know, anything like that where you can create a dialogue, short and sweet and simple. I feel like it's part of building those reps. Sometimes you'll end up with getting free things out of that as well. But at the end of the day, I feel like just putting yourself in those situations where you're having those conversations, getting outside your comfort zone, and just like understanding the purpose is bigger than the feelings that you have towards that situation. So if you're fearful or awkward, or you feel like you're anxious, the purpose of you meeting that sync agent or that supervisor exceeds that feeling that you have in that moment, in my opinion. So that's how I would go about it.
Man, that's so real. You gave so many gems right there because having that talking point with someone helps so much because why would you feel awkward now? You have a similar topic that you guys like, and then you just talk about it. So it's so easier to approach people like that. I had a similar experience when I went to NAM last January. We actually met there for the first time, but
Right.
I met this one music supervisor, and we had a convo for like 30 minutes just because I researched her before the event. And when I met her, we spoke about stuff that she talked about in a podcast, and we just spoke and spoke. So it was fun though. It was like the best thing that happened, because when you get to those situations, sometimes, I mean, at least for me, I get a little bit nervous. And I'm like, man, what if I mess up? But now with that, it's so easy and natural. So, man, thanks for sharing that, because that helps a lot. I had
For sure,
I
man.
wanted to ask you I'm a huge basketball fan, and I love drafts and stuff like that. So I wanted to ask you, if we had a draft, let's say for sync licensing, and a TV show or a movie or even a video game had to draft you, what would be like the perfect place for you?
I think that if we had the opportunity, and we talked about this earlier, but if we had the opportunity, like Bel Air, 100% would be that show. I feel like we have the sound that aligns with it. We have great music that really aligns with that show. I'm a big fan of that show. I'm a big fan of the culture, the storyline, and the music in that show is amazing. So I feel like if we had the opportunity and that opportunity aligned, even though they're on their last season, this is the final season. I really think that if we somehow got into the playlist of the music supervisor for that project, that we would be a great fit, in my opinion. I think that would be like not even only just that was that was my number one goal with building Super Selective, was getting on that show, just because I just love it. Just felt innovative at the time. Like it felt when it first came out, it felt like it was way more advanced musically than a lot of different projects. Now I feel like projects have caught up, and now Bel Air is like one of the few shows that would show the Spotify capture of the playlist from the entire series. So I feel like it was just innovative in that aspect, and the music just felt current and different, and just feel like there was a lot of homage to independent artists and big artists as well on that show. And I feel like that just showed, that would be a great show to get on. I feel like that would be my number one if I got drafted by them. You see the big smile on my face like LeBron when he got drafted by Cleveland. And then on the flip side, my goal, like top of the top, would be crazy if this ever happened, would just be like a Super Bowl placement, because Super Bowl placements are kind of like, Christmas in sync licensing. So just being able to possibly getting on a Super Bowl placement would be insane. So yeah, those would be my top. Not saying that our music super aligns with Super Bowl, even though I feel like it does, but like just in retrospect, I feel like that would be just a crazy goal to hit over time.
Those are actually super sick when you think about it. Bel Air was the show that actually made me like feel like, oh man, I belong in this space. When I listened to the music from the first season, it was so nicely made. That was like, oh man, I need to do something similar to that. And I went with one of my friends, an artist from here, Zibua. and she signed to Super Selective now. And
Yep.
we made a project that we feel like, oh man, that would be a strong fit for Bel Air. And Bel Air, I actually love that show. I love it. I haven't watched the last season yet because I thought they were about to cancel it. So I was like, man, I don't wanna do this to myself. But now I know that they renewed, but now the last season, the next one, I might have to get back to it. But now Bel Air has great music, honestly. Man.
For sure, man. I love that show.
Bro, I have one. Oh yeah, no, I wanted to ask you first about metadata. Since before you said you did a lot of metadata for the first library that you worked with, and I feel like a lot of people that follows me on Instagram don't necessarily know about how much, like, how important metadata is. So are you able to like explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like my identity is within metadata. Yeah, I got my start with signature tracks unpaid for 7 months. My entire job was just filling out the metadata for each individual track. And if you don't know what metadata is, it's like the identity of a track, right? So let's just imagine that you're building a new restaurant and you specialize in authentic Mexican food, right? Authentic Mexican food, if you Google it, there's going to be a ton of different things that pop up for you. But if you be specific about that authentic Mexican food, if it's from Oaxaca or a different state of Mexico, you're more likely to show up higher in that list and have more people who are specifically looking for that flavor, for that style, come to your restaurant and become a fan or a customer of you long term, right? The same thing applies to metadata. It's like a search engine optimization for music supervisors, for editors, for directors of a film or a project to be able to find your music and use it in their project. You're way more likely to get placed if you have metadata within your track. And what that looks like is having keywords describing your track. Is it an emotional track? Is it a reflective track? So for your instance, with Zubua, that EP has like an R&B feel, but there's also Afrobeat, and it has signs of different like love or heartbreak and stuff like that. And being specific about that within your metadata is super important. It's going to increase your chances of being seen. You also want to make sure your contact information is on there. That if someone finds your track, let's say if you put it on a site like Disco, which is like one of the top sites in sync licensing, and they can search your music on there. And if they search your track and your contact information on there, how do they know who to give that credit to? How do they know who to pay? How do they know who made the track, right? So making sure your metadata as far as your contact info, your name, your PRO information, if you're SOCAN, BMI, ASCAP, whatever, having that information on there. Your lyrics are very searchable too as well. So having certain lyrics is going to help you be seen. So being descriptive about how that track feels, the tempo of it, the pacing of it, if it's up tempo, slow tempo, the emotional feel of it, what it sounds like, if it sounds like Janae Aiko, if it sounds like a different artist, being specific about those keywords, putting it in your metadata, which you can do either going through like putting your track into iTunes, you right click it, hit get info or song info, and then you can put your metadata in there. You can use things like MP3 tag, you can use things like Disco, which I mentioned earlier, or you can put it into an Excel sheet. All these different things are ways you can embed that information, put it within your track, make it searchable, and highly increase your chances of that track being placed, not just now but long term. I've seen it happen so many times working at signature tracks where someone would be searching for a track, our tracks would pop up because we had certain keywords for it, and we got a placement based off the search that they did for that track. So I would highly recommend looking more into metadata if you're not familiar with it, just because I feel like it's like, if you get into sync licensing, you're going to hear that term a lot, and just getting yourself a little bit more familiar with that, it's just going to increase your chances of it getting placed. And you don't know this, a lot of people don't know this, but like some of these people who are looking for these tracks will go on Spotify, will go on TikTok, and they'll search certain keywords to see if they can find something, especially if it's specific to a country or a region, and they're like trying to get as authentic music as possible. Like having that stuff within your metadata, despite if you're putting it for sync licensing or not, it's going to increase your chances of becoming searchable and found within different people trying to license it or just being a fan of your music in general. So yeah, metadata is super key.
Man, that's dope. That was a perfect explanation. Now I have a question. I, I don't know if you know the answer for sure, but on Disco, I just realized that they have AI that does metadata for your songs. How effective is that? If like you know about it, but do you think it's really effective or not really?
I've tested it, and honestly, like it's very generic as far as what it gave back. I think that you're like with these type of models, what you're supposed to do is like feed it more, and the more you feed it, the better and more accurate it gets. But for me personally, I just like since I have so much experience, I've done thousands upon thousands of tracks of metadata. That since I have that experience and that insight of knowing like how things are searched, I'd rather just do it myself and get all that information filled out myself. Now I do use tools like maybe ChatGPT to help me with this process to make it a lot quicker. So for example, for Super Selective, we have all of our artists we give them initials, right? And within those initials, it gives us back their PRO information. If you don't know what a PRO is, it's a performance rights organization. It's how you're able to collect like the money or the revenue for these tracks, especially within TV and film. You need one if you don't have one, if you're an artist listening to this or a producer. But just having these initials where it gives back Homery, and I know that Homery has is with SOCAN. It's gonna give me all that information back. I can just copy and paste it, which makes my life a lot easier than having to go to this sheet that we have all your information filled out, copying each little row or column and then putting it into Disco, right? So I personally think that AI tools are effective in certain instances, but as far as Discos for metadata, I've briefly used it and I didn't find it effective for what I was doing. But I do think that they do like what they have on there. The transcribing lyrics feature is pretty clutch.
Yeah,
If you have lyrics that you're someone who just like maybe like record punches in your recordings, you know your lyrics, you don't want to write them out, they can transcribe your lyrics by just dropping in the song, and it'll give you back the files using AI or the lyrics using AI, which is pretty it's not always accurate, but it's pretty close, and it makes your life a lot easier. So
yeah, no,
yeah.
it's crazy. I tried it a couple of times and I was like, oh man, this is gold.
Yeah, for sure.
Talking about AI, what do you think about AI role in sync licensing? Do you think at some point the AI music, let's say, might be able to like feed music supervisors music, or you don't see that happen really? Or even
I
like
think
how
that
use AI even too?
I think that you said how would I use AI, or how do you use
Also,
AI?
yeah, like I mean, you could like that's like another question. I might have to re-ask you that after.
As far as sync licensing, I mean, it's definitely going to affect the industry. I think at the base level, like your micro sync licensing placements, which is going to be like your local realtor, maybe like your local restaurant, if they put a commercial out, the music for that, they're probably just going to use AI just because it's efficient, it's cheap, it's easy to do, and they're not really caring about the quality of music. On the larger scale of things, I feel like it's going to be a long time till we get to that point, especially until copyright laws are passed to kind of protect the people who are trying to use these AI tracks. Because let's say that you prompt an AI track, you get it placed on a major film. What's stopping me from claiming that same track and just using that track and putting it into another film? There's nothing stopping, because there's no law to protect you for that copyright, right? So if I just take that track and just use it for another show and say, hey, this was used on Fast and Furious, they have no way of identifying or protecting that the fact that you're the one who wrote that prompt. So I think that there's too much of a gray area in that space right now to really stamp the identity of using AI, especially because sync licensing, like the license is like the copyright part of your track, and they're very protective over that. This is not like selling beats to a local artist or whatever. Like they have to protect themselves so they do not get sued to be able to use different tracks. That's why they're not using the biggest like Prince tracks or Kendrick Lamar tracks on every single project that you hear, every single TV show. It's because they need a license to be able to use that music, and there's a fee that comes behind that license. Now, on the other side of on the other side of AI, also like if you talk to like music supervisors or people who are in this space, they're very passionate about music and the authentic place coming from making music. A lot of them like to go to local shows or go to artist shows that they may represent or pitch, and they like to feel that music in person. So they're very protective, luckily, in that space of like not using AI and not and just keeping the family of artists and the artistry of music like authentic to the identity of what music is at the end of the day, right? So that's the other part of it that's like really benefits us as creatives. So I think that over time, eventually, do I think that AI will play a part into the music that's being used in film and television? Yes, but I think that we're a long way from it, and it's going to look different than just being able to go on Suno, write out a prompt, and just place a track on a TV show. It's a lot different. So we'll see how it plays out. I think it's going to take time. I don't think that we should be scared of it. I think we just be aware of it and kind of study how it's being used and what people are doing. What I do personally is I'm on LinkedIn and I see there's a lot of AI filmmaking on there where people just literally are making films based off AI prompts. And I just have my eye on it. I just want to be a part of the scene and see what's happening with it. So I'm not left behind. I'm not crippled by fear, and I'm just adjusting to whatever it being used. Do I like the fact that there's AI filmmaking? Do I like the fact that there's AI music? Absolutely not. I don't like that. Our field is being jeopardized by someone just wanting to make a quick buck. But at the end of the day, like I'm not gonna let the adaptation of the music industry have me fall behind. And it kind of just go with the ebbs and flows of what this industry is. So that's my kind of take on AI.
That's a fair take, honestly. I like your take. And talking about like how writing a prompt is literally like 2 seconds. It doesn't take much to do. It's so fast and easy. But sometimes in sync, I mean sometimes, a lot of times in sync, you do receive like briefs that you have let's say 48 hours to deliver the song, or 24 hours to deliver a song. How do you approach those type of brief when you have a tight deadline, like as a producer but also as an agent? How do you make sure that you're able to deliver the work in time?
I think it looks different as an agent than it does as a producer, because on the agent side, a lot of that has to do with just being super organized, very communicative, and being descriptive and clear with the expectation. But on the creative side, I like to stay prepared. So if I have a track that I know that I've made before that's in a certain genre, I kind of will use that as a template. Not necessarily just like creating the same track from it, but the sounds that I've used from it, maybe the structure, just reopening that project, kind of deleting all the melodic parts of it and just using it as a starting point. If I don't use that specific track, at least it'll create the idea for me a lot quicker than it would be to be like, okay, where am I going to start? What sound am I going to use? What key should I be in? What tempo should I be in? Like all that stuff is already there. So I can start from a clean slate and just be creative from that point. Because a lot of times, I'm sure sometimes you're creating something and a whole nother idea will come up, and then it kind of makes like, you'll get inspired to make something even better. And sticking to that. But I think that having a clear idea of what the description, what they're asking for is, being completely understandable as far as like, are they asking for something specific? Am I meeting what they're asking? And if there's reference tracks, does my track feel like it would fit in the same playlist as that reference? I'm not trying to create the same reference track. I'm not trying to recreate that same reference track. I'm trying to make sure that my track feels like it would be in a playlist on Spotify with that reference track. And I think those are the 2 points that I focus on. For me personally, before, when I first started, it would take me so long to finish a track, maybe like 3 to 5 days to finish a track, right? But as I started making more, like sync is a high quantity game, so the more demand was expected from me, the quicker I became making these tracks. I started to watch my mentor make tracks and see how he kind of operated and how he's able to move from one point to another and getting there quickly, efficiently, and at a high quality. So I think that just making sure I understand what they're being asked, like what I'm being asked, by understanding the brief that they send out, which is just a description of what they're asking for, and then making sure that I'm set up in a way where I can work as quickly as possible without getting in the way of the things that you're like stuck behind, which is like picking certain sounds or picking a tempo or picking a melody and stuff like that. So working at a way where it's a little bit more efficient. Also do things like use like MIDI for my claps or for my hi-hats or something to work a lot quicker, and it makes the process a lot more seamless if I'm working on a very tight deadline.
That's fair. And I have a final question for you. What would you say, I mean, what is your most proud moment of your journey, if you have one?
And that's a really good question. I have a few. So, and it involves like a story. Um, I would say my most proud moment, for getting my first placement, or not my first placement. My favorite, one of my favorite placements is Fortnite, because
Oh,
I got that on
Fortnite.
my own.
That's
Yeah, I got that on my own. And it was a reflection of my hard work that I had did after leaving Signature Tracks, like building relationships and like putting myself out there and sharing content. It kind of cultivated from just me, sharing content. I was able to do a collaboration project for what the release for like the Wu-Tang Clan when they put them into Fortnite, and it was just a cool experience because just working on that was just very creative and very unique. And then after like posting it, it did really well, went really viral, and I was reached out by a couple of members of Wu Tang, which is pretty dope. Because it was my first independent one where I did it myself, and it gave me the confidence to be like, I can do this by myself without relying on someone else. Um, Another favorite placement that's like my proud moment is I got a placement. So around the same time actually, I was working on a project for the NBA. It was during like the NBA bubble era,
yeah,
during COVID,
yeah.
and I was working on a project for the return of the NBA, which is like late July. They were coming back. Well, at the same time, my brother was he was drafted to the MLB in like 2016, and he was drafted by the Dodgers, which is the area I live in. It's the Dodgers, LA, and then he got traded to the Astros. So around the same time when I was doing this project for the NBA, I released it, and it got signed, and I ended up getting placed really quickly on an NBA placement. It was a Laker game, and they were promoting the Dodgers versus the Astros. Well, that happened to be the game where my brother got pulled up to the major leagues, and it was promoting the game that my brother got his first MLB start, to pitch against Dodgers. And it's like the famous Joe Kelly game where like Joe Kelly, the pitcher, was mocking the Astros because there was like a whole cheating scandal that happened between those two teams, or the Astros, and like they were getting a lot of hate for it. Had nothing to do with my brother. He was not part of the team at that point, but it was just infamous because of that moment. But yeah, he started that game, and like track was promoting the game that he was playing with. It was like a weird alignment parallel as far as like me and my brother and where he was at with his career and where I was at with my career, and kind of like felt really full circle. And then another problem is starting Super Selective, because this is just like really made me grow as a person. Like we talked about earlier, being introverted and stuff, it had made me expand and try to become a totally different person and give me confidence in areas that I was not confident in, over time. And I think that just being able to build this and like seeing the ups and downs, it's a lot of struggle, but it's very rewarding at the end of the day. And I love working with the people that I work with who are part of the team and the support system around this team. And I think that like those are the top three things that I'm most proud of, within my career so far.
Man, yo, these are amazing moments, honestly.
Appreciate it.
The one with your brother is crazy because what are the odds, man? Like,
Insane odds. Yeah, that's a power higher than me for sure. That's aligning those moments right there.
nah, that is so sick. But hey, Nathan, I'm so grateful for you. Thanks for taking your time to have this little interview. I mean, by no means, like I'm not really that type of dude that does interviews and stuff like that. I'm really not used to that. But I really appreciate the fact that you came here and listened to me. We spoke, we had this great convo. And thanks even for maybe you don't know that, but the first library that signed me was yours. So you signed me to my first music library, and I'm grateful for that. I don't think I told you that before though, but yeah, I mean, for me that was
I
full
appreciate
circle
that.
moment too, because I learned from you, and then you're the first one that signed me to your library. So I want to thank you for that too. And yeah, man, hey, keep doing your thing. You're doing great, bruh. And let's have some wins together, man.
Let's do it, man. Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you I'm just honored to be having a conversation with you, man. I appreciate you having me on board. And thank you, like, even for the library part. Thank you for believing in the vision. I know it takes time. It's a patience game. And I really appreciate all the contribution. And every time I say like, yo, I need something, you're always one of the first people to raise their hand. You're one of the few people who are in the circle that I will reach out to for briefs that may not be public. And I just appreciate you always being willing to work and put the effort in, because that's the type of people I want to surround myself with. So yeah, man, thanks again for the opportunity. I appreciate like the homage and stuff like that. And I really enjoyed having this conversation with you, man.
I appreciate it, bro. All right. Talk to you soon, man. Have a good one, bro.
All right, brother.
All right, peace.
Peace.